Thank you. Okay, so I'm Sandra. I'm an ASU online graduate student of social work, and I'm excited to be meeting you and participating today in this webinar.
Gabe, would you like to introduce yourself for us?
Sure. I'm Gabe Martinez. I'm at Sonora University Ed. I'm a project aide and peer mentor.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Sandra. And I'm Wendy Warren. I am the statewide project coordinator for CPATH, which is our Career Pathways to Arizona project. And our webinar series is coming through that project to you folks. And I'm just going to mention off the top right now, today we have jets flying overhead, lucky. So I'm hearing a whole lot of jets fly over, and I'm hoping you folks will be able to hear me as I continue on. That was an unexpected, we're going to go along with it. So today we're going to be talking about networking. We're going to be talking about references, and each of these aspects are really important for you to learn about in order to be able to help you make those connections needed in order to be able to find a job. You'll be learning about what information you need to add and request from your reference, as well as gain a few tips so that you'll feel a little more comfortable when you're reaching out and connecting with folks and asking for this information to help you out. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what is networking? This first definition right here is a mouthful. Okay, so we're going to break it down a little bit. So networking is the process of meeting others so that you can exchange information. You have new professional contacts, and then through that, you're able to develop healthy relationships. Okay, so if we were to break that down a little bit, what we want to think of is to network, all we're doing at that point is working to meet somebody. We want to be able to put ourselves out there in a place where we can say, hey, my name's Wendy Warren. It's really nice to meet you. Can you tell me something about yourself? You know, kind of like you with that first interview question. They ask you that question, and then you're able to kind of find a connection, something that you maybe both are able to relate to. And at that point, you continue to have a little conversation. The purpose in that meeting, the other half of our definition, is so that you're able to gain something from them. You're working to get information, and you're working to have them assist you in the future when you're looking to be able to have work. The ability to network helps you in the future develop your references. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at networking, let's think about the different reasons. Why is it that we would want to network? Well, for one of the reasons, as I mentioned a moment ago, it helps to be able to create those helpful relationships for the future. Another reason is when you're looking for that job, then you have a person that you can connect to and talk to about the job you're interested in. So when you're networking, you're being strategic through that. You're thinking about the things you want to do in the future. And then you're thinking, who is it that I know that also has those interests? Who is it that I know that works in that field? And then you work to connect with them. Another reason we want to network, 70% of the jobs that are out there in the job market, they're not going to be on any website. They're not going to be advertised. You're not going to find them in a newspaper. I'm aging myself there, but you're not going to find them. They're in a hidden job market. So 70% of the jobs don't get advertised, and there are employers that are seeking out employees through that networking that they're doing. And then the other reason for networking is to be able to get the reference. And we'll be talking more about that reference afterwards. So let's see, I know that we have just a few students on, and I would like to be able to bring you guys in. I want to see what it is you guys know about networking and references already. Are you able to maybe share either in the chat or raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to add, or that you can, or questions that you may have about it? Either one.
I do have a question. But it's mostly an answer. It's network is mostly social media.
Okay. Okay. So you had a question about social media and networking?
Yeah, it is social media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Too.
yeah, that's right. So social media is one way that people are able to network. And I know, Michaela, you guys, both of you were at our webinar when we talked about social media and using technology to help us get jobs.
Mhm.
And anybody that's here that didn't see that webinar from the past, you'll find that on our YouTube channel, where we went into detail about how social media is able to help us get a job and network. So good for you, Michaela, for remembering that and bringing that forward for us. That's great.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to share or any questions? You know, I like to keep you guys engaged with me. I don't like just to talk at you. I like to hear from you guys, so. Okay, and if not, we can keep on going. So let's see if we could have next slide, please. And Sandra is going to share with us some information about the sled.
Sure. How do you network? Well, it's very important to be nice to everyone, and being nice, a big part of that is just a big smile. And in my opinion, a smile goes a long way. And of course, using a conversational tone of voice, not too loud, and just being overall friendly. Um, also, if you become involved in any activities that are outside of school or inside of school, volunteer work, other, or even a part-time job, anything that you can do to meet people is a good way to network. And whoever you meet will maybe themselves be able to help or know about a job, or they might know somebody else. You and if people, you can also help other people. If you might know about a job, or then other people might help you. Um, Sometimes your own hobbies, like maybe you like athletics, or you might like drama, and you can also network that way. Um, my son wanted to become involved in drama, but not because he liked drama, he wanted to meet girls. So that way he was networking to meet girls. That's just one example. And that is what I have to tell you about networking. Does anybody have any questions?
Michaela, I see your hand up.
Mhm. I do. It and it's mostly network. Mostly people do it for to post their art and their artwork in.
One way that you are able to network is by being able to put yourself out there. I think that what you're saying, Michaela, is let's say you were interested in art and then you were to post your art someplace where you wanted folks to see it that had something to do with the work you were interested in.
Mhm.
Then possibly you can reach back out to them, or they connect with you. so that you're able to create that bridge of networking, right? So you're kind of putting that information out there, hoping that you're going to draw folks in towards you. And that can be another way to network. Yeah. Good idea.
That's right.
Me and my sister pose out awkward all the time on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and
Very
it's
good.
fun. It's really fun.
And also,
Nice.
when you're out and about and you can have already in your pocket a contact card with your information to give to people that that might be able to help you find a job.
I see in the chat that we have some responses that so LinkedIn is great for networking. And then let's see, right, you can create a digital art portfolio and share that with others. So that's a wonderful idea. Okay, let's see. All right, next slide, please. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have us watch a little bit of a clip. It's not too long, just a couple of minutes. And then after the clip is watched, you folks are going to be logging in as you have previously into Menti. Your code is already listed, 52 38 51 43. At the moment, though, we'd really like you to be able to watch what this the networking clip is, and then from there, we'll have you share information about it, okay? Thank you, Jeff.
Networking. You'll get way more out of it than just a job, and we'll show you why coming up next. Hi everyone. So now that we're about halfway through our networking category of videos, we figure it's probably a good time to take a step back and share with you some reasons why networking is important aside from just getting a job. Remember, networking is a process of building professional relationships. And especially for you students and recent grads, it's that process that can lead to a lot of opportunities for your early career. That's why the jobpostings.ca team put together these 3 non-employment benefits you'll get from networking. First off, networking gets you a ton of career advice from pros who've been in the business for years and sometimes decades. You'll be able to bounce ideas off of them. They'll also be able to motivate you by sharing stories about their past career successes and challenges, stories that you might one day apply to your career. But similar to that point, you'll also get insider intel on the industry you're interested in. For example, if you're looking to get into the advertising field, then networking with a range of pros from that field will give you insider knowledge about how that industry is doing, what it's like to work in that industry, and where the opportunities are. Learning this stuff will make you sound way more informed when you speak with other professionals or eventually interviewers. Finally, if you're currently looking for a new job, internship, or co-op, then networking is a great way to raise your profile. The more events you attend and pros you meet, the more people will recognize you and keep you top of mind, especially should a job opportunity arise. Thanks so much for watching this jobpostings.ca job hunt video. Be sure to leave a comment below to tell us what you thought about today's career tips. Maybe you have a couple of your own that you'd like to share. And if you have any questions about this video or have requests for future job tip videos, please let us know. We'll do our best to answer everybody. In the meantime, if you like this video, please click the like button or share it with your friends.
Okay, so now it's the Menti. You guys have the code, and we have it in the chat. You can follow the link that's in the chat. You can put that the code in and give us a we're gonna see a Menti word cloud. So on here, feel free to mention anything that you learned by watching that clip that stood out, that might have been different than what we've offered already. Feel free also, anything that you've already heard that we mentioned this morning, you can add that in there as well. And again, as we've always offered before, if you're not able for whatever reason to put it onto the word cloud, we're always okay with you putting it into the chat box, and then we can add that. So it's a good opportunity to be able to get some advice. Professionalism is important. Dylan, you have your hand raised. Feel free to ask your question. So you learned that it's an opportunity for a job reference, to acquire a reference for a job when you're connecting with people. You're able to get advice. Yeah, that's an important one. Again, it offers the opportunity for the reference. Learning about a job, that's right. You mentioned the fact that it's an opportunity to be able to listen to other stories and another person's experience in that position. So you get more information. It can be fun. Networking doesn't have to be hard. I'm so glad somebody said fun. The more we make it fun, then the more comfortable we're going to allow those persons that we're networking with to feel with us, and that conversation will flow a little better.
Wendy,
Yes.
the reason why I said fun is because actually it happened to me. I went to Kinko's by my house, like FedEx copies and Kinko's or whatever it's called, because, you know,
Yeah.
I'm working at home and I had to scan some items, you know, for the students. And there was a long line and I just started talking to the lady in front of me. Long story short, she's the general manager for Payway. So we exchanged business cards and started talking about partnerships, you know, for the program. And it was just something so innocent and so fun. And it turned out to be connection. So I'm like super excited for that.
Awesome job. That is great. I'm so glad to hear that you were able to develop a little bit for the jobs, for the program.
Yeah.
That is exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Wendy. She was super excited and she was like, wow, I never heard of such an amazing program. I'm like, I know.
That's great. I love it. I know that sometimes I find that it is easiest to be able to do that networking when it's just natural with what you're doing, when it becomes a part of something you just do.
Yes.
You could be in line at the grocery store or whatnot, like you're saying, and if there you are, and you're just next to somebody with some time, you start talking a little and you never know where it's going to go. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
thank you.
It's just daring to put yourself out there.
Yes, that was a long line. So I just started talking.
Love it. Thank you all for adding.
It was kind
Go ahead, Michaela.
I'm sorry. It was kind of hard to listen. It was kind of hard to listen in of the videos. Kind of hard to listen.
Oh, okay. So the volume wasn't really loud enough. It was hard to hear.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. I just can't understand it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. That's how come we like to break it down afterwards and kind of talk about it in order to be able to make sure that everybody is able to get something out of it. And at this point, given the length of the video, you folks have listed a lot of what they mentioned. It's a chance for career advice is one thing that they said. They talked about it's an opportunity to be able to become motivated. When you're networking with folks, it feeds some motivation for you so that you want to keep going. They talked about you can hear challenges and stories about the job so that you're able to get a better idea about what work in that place would be like. And then you get inside information about the industry. So those are some of the main points of what they were mentioning. And a reminder that you can always go back and rewatch these later because we post all of our videos and information on the channel later on. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Now I think, Brian, you wanted to share some information. Do you want to put it into the chat or share aloud?
He was just having some audio difficulty. He just couldn't hear us overall, but we fixed it. We're okay now.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Mhm. Okay, so we can go to the next slide, I think. Thank you guys for sharing. So at this point, we're going to be talking a little bit also about references. Okay, so what is a reference and who can be a reference? Those are two very important questions. And according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a reference is the act of referring or consulting. So what that means is that if we are going to have a reference, it means that that person that's our reference is referring us to somebody else or consulting with us in order to help us be able to get something we're looking for. So we're looking for the job and we're utilizing another person in order to get there. Okay, so they're referring information about us to that employer. So according to Indeed Career Guide, their definition is, and I'm going to read this one off. It says, a source that helps provide supporting information. Okay, so it's a source to give you some details, give you something you're looking for. That's why we're connecting with them. So when employers ask you for a reference, they're asking for people in your circle that can vouch for your skills and your abilities and your qualities. So you're wanting to work with other folks, ask people you know to be a reference who know you well when you work, when you've done any volunteering, anytime that they've seen you, they can speak to your character and how good a person that you can be. That's what you're wanting your references to be able to do. Okay, so when you have folks you're thinking about, you want to keep in mind those are the pieces of information you want them to share. Okay.
Wendy?
Yes.
Oh, I wanted to add that a good reference could be one of your teachers or school
Absolutely,
guidance
teachers.
counselor. Mm-hmm.
Because they know you so well, right? And that's the next, if we go to the next slide, that slide is who do I choose for a reference? And
Michaela
just
has
as
a
you're
question.
mentioning, Sandra. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And referencing, it can also mean when you look at up something of what the character design looks like.
Like image, beam, and movies.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say that part again? I don't want to miss what you shared and I wasn't able to hear it very well.
Okay, like image, memes, and videos. Actually, movies.
So are you saying that you're able to find information out about who to use for a reference through those items?
Mhm.
Yeah, for like when an artist want to look at the referencing about character.
Tell directly said
Mm-hmm.
what design looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it sounds like you guys are working to get really creative
Mhm.
with the work that you're doing, the art that you're doing, and you're
Mhm.
wanting to be seen and recognized through that, right?
Mhm.
And then as a result of all of what you're putting up, you're able to connect with people who can be a reference because they're seeing your work.
Mhm.
So you're kind of doing some references, getting some references and networking all at the same time.
Mhm.
That's pretty good. So excellent job.
Thank
So
you.
on here, we have some examples on who it is that we would want to choose that could be a good reference for us. So it could be your coach, your scout leader. It could be a person or a leader where you may do some volunteer work. Some folks are involved in a youth group, and so it may be somebody through that's a leader of a youth group. I'm curious if any of you guys are able to think of some other people that you know that we didn't list here that might be a good reference. Do you guys have some other ideas? So we have Jessica saying old coworkers or classmates. Yes, absolutely. And so it would make sense to make sure that after you graduate or you go from one class session into the summer before the next year, to get those contacts from folks. So parents, a possibility, yeah. With parents, you may not use them for a reference. I would say with parents, you want to use them more as a networking to get to the references that would help you. Because your parents are able to tell you who it is they know that knows you well also. And so that's how your parents can help. We normally don't want to list our parents on a reference list because of course they're going to be a little biased, right? They're going to be sharing all good stuff about us because they want us to get the job, right? And so it's not always going to be, the best person that you'd want to use. But your parents definitely know other people who could. And it says, don't forget, okay, and Jessica says, don't forget to ask permission and let them know you're using them as a reference. So Jessica's getting a little bit ahead of us on here because we do have a few slides coming up where we're talking about what is it that we really need to know and helpful tips about references, okay? So before we move from this slide, there's just a couple of others I wanted to add. School counselor could be a good person that would be a good reference. Maybe the librarian at your school. If you've spent a lot of time going into the library and doing research or studying and you're always following the rules when you're there and you're quiet, you're dedicated, the librarian gets to know you over a period of time, right? They know who you are as a good person. You're not that rambunctious person going in and always really very loud and needing reminders to be quiet and creating commotion. That librarian may know you as the person that's going to be really stable, calm, follow directions. That's something that person could speak for you when you're looking to get a job. And then neighbors also, let's say that you helped out with a project next door to neighbors. Right? Maybe you were helping them paint something, or you were, I don't know, back home we have lawns to mow. Here, there's not, we would mow grass. So, that sort of thing. If you've helped out your neighbors, then they may be able to speak to your work ethic. And so that's a good one to keep in mind. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So here we are at helpful tips. And this is where Jessica had jumped ahead. So what we have on here is seeing that the person who's your reference, they shouldn't be related to you. Like I said, if they are, they're gonna, be biased and not, give the information needed to that reference. It's only gonna be good stuff, right? And they want to know the real thing. So helpful tips, ask in advance before listing the person as your reference. So you don't want to have an employer call somebody and that reference doesn't even know that they're going to get a call. they're not going to be prepared to say what they need to on your behalf. So you want to give them time to prepare, let them know you've used them as a reference, ask permission to use them as a reference. You want to make sure that when you've shared that information, that the information's up to date. So, people's contact information can change. At the beginning of a school year, you might ask a teacher and you have their address, their phone number. Make sure it's not the school phone number. You have to know that they're comfortable in being able to give out a separate number because school's closed if you're working in the summer, right? The reference needs to be able to, the person needs to get a hold of them. So have all your information up to date. Try to have at least 3 people you can ask. So you always want to be thinking who could be your reference. And it's good to have at least 3 people that you can list. Okay. And that's because that's what employers normally look for. They're going to call these references and they're going to ask them a bunch of questions about you in order to see if you're a good choice for that job. Let's see. So next slide, please. I think we're going to go back into another video here. And this video is going to be about having a strong reference list. Okay. Thank you.
You have probably heard before that job seekers are expected to provide a reference list. This may raise some questions for you. Who do I ask to serve as a reference? What do I say in my request? And how do I follow up afterward? Let us show you how. Why is a reference list important? Often, when an employer would like to learn more about an applicant, they reach out to 3 to 5 professional references you provide to learn more about your skills, abilities, and prior job performance. References are generally contacted after a successful interview and just before offering you the position. Here, we'll focus on these main ideas: who to choose as your references, how to ask them, and how to follow up with those references after your interview. As you start compiling your list of references, it's important to reflect on who you should choose. References should be people who can attest to your work performance, character, and professionalism on the job. They should feel comfortable positively addressing the quality of your work and how you work with others. References might include current or former supervisors, professors, advisors, coaches, or anyone who knows you from a professional setting. Typically, you should not use family or friends as references. Once you know who might serve as a strong reference, make sure you ask their permission before submitting their names. Make your request via a professional email or an in-person meeting, and remember to confirm their willingness to provide a strong, supportive recommendation. If your references accept, you should ask for their most up-to-date contact information, including full name, position, organization, email address, and phone number. When submitting your typed list of references to an employer, it should match the format of your resume and cover letter. Now that you have your list of references, these are the best tips on how to follow up with them while you're in an active job or internship search. In order for your references to know about your recent accomplishments, it's wise to provide them your current resume and cover letter, as well as the position descriptions for any roles you are applying to. The best reference calls come from people who genuinely know you and your work ethic. That's why it's essential to maintain a strong, ongoing, and professional relationships with your references. Be sure to thank your references after the selection process is complete with a written thank you card, a thoughtfully crafted email, or a phone call. So the next time an employer asks you for your references, you know now the steps to submitting a strong reference list. Good luck!
Okay, so we have a Menti for that video as well. Do we have a different code, Jeff, for that word cloud?
We don't.
Or is-
Unfortunately, I did not create another word cloud for that one.
Oh, okay. I thought that I had seen on the top that it had it. No problem at all. So I'm curious, each of you, in watching that video right there, they did repeat a lot of the different things that we were discussing a moment ago, right? Is there anything else that you can think of? Or what is it that really stood out? And you guys can either share raising your hand or in the chat. Anything new that popped out? No? Okay, so I see Noah saying no. I have a question here. I see that Kelsey has asked the question, does it matter how I ask for a reference? Tone of voice, being nice, etc. Okay, so we can go back on that one just to think about what it is that Sandra had shared with us a few minutes ago, that yes, it is very important to have a really good tone of voice, to keep very calm, to be able to speak confidently, and you want to be pleasant, right? You want to be pleasant with people so that they are interested in speaking on your behalf. You're asking them to vouch for you. They're putting their name on the line to say, this is a good person that you want to hire. They want to make sure that if they're saying that to another person, that you're going to do a good job, right? They're not going to want to offer a reference to somebody who isn't going to do well because it makes them look bad too. Okay, so very good point. Thank you for sharing. Having respect, asked for help with positive. So being positive, right? Having a positive attitude, being upbeat, and then being willing to ask for that help. Having a reference is something everybody needs when looking for a job, not just students, not just people coming out of school for their first job, but everybody. So all of us are practicing and working to do these things. And really, it just boils down to being a good person, right? That's what it all boils down to. Being a good person will allow others to want to be a reference for you. Okay, they'll also be open to you networking with them. So as far as requesting a reference letter, we talked about who to have as a reference. The other part of that is sometimes we are not just going to get like a person's phone number and address and name, but we want them to write a letter about us on our behalf, about all of the good things that we can offer to that employer. Okay, and so we want to ask for those letters well in advance of when we need it. Give that person time to come up with it and think about what they want to say, right? And write it out really nicely. Always thank them for the fact that they're being that reference and they're offering that information in writing letter, right? Again, be polite, just thank them. And then afterwards, let's say you get that job, they want to celebrate with you, share that with them, let them know if you got that job or not. You know, maybe you didn't get the job, let them be there to support you. They want to help you. That's why they offered to be your reference to begin with, right? Next slide, please. So at this point, we know that getting a job is hard, right? Networking, referencing, it takes getting those references. It all takes time. It's not easy. We're not going to get a job always the first time we apply, right? We're going to keep hearing some no's. We have to keep on practicing. You need to stay devoted to it. If it's something you really want, then as you continue to practice it, you'll get better. Okay. And at this point, we're going to advance to the next slide and we're going to bring Gabe on. So Gabe has been here patiently listening to all of what's happening. And this is our opportunity to gab with Gabe. Okay. So Gabe is going to be sharing with us some information about his job in his networking and referencing. So Gabe, I'm going to leave it to you at this point. Why don't you share with us some of the tips and information about how you've got to work and how you use these items, these skills.
Okay, Since I've been finding jobs online, on networking, so it helps me to find jobs on networking, and if you get like good tips by any like friends, family about jobs, and or if you want to find a job on networking, so if you go to like YouTube to find me on YouTube, I get good tips to find jobs, and it helps with young adults to find jobs, and it works to find jobs. And if you have like any jobs in you, like in like different skills, and it helps with different young adults. And also, if you have like interest in working, it works. If you find a job like online, like Indeed, Eric's Jobs, those websites will help you to find jobs and what jobs are good for you and what sort of interest in those jobs are listed. If you like one of the jobs, apply online, and you can make a resume and like invitation with your friends or someone else that you know, and put them on a list and their information with them, and write it down or type it up to send it out to different companies to hire.
Excellent. Thank you, Gabe. You just offered a lot of really good tips to folks on how they're able to get jobs and some things that they can be doing. And I love that you also mentioned the fact that people have networked with you and they can get more information from you by going onto the YouTube channel, because you're on a number of those videos, right?
Right.
That's excellent. And I know, Gabe, you were going to share some information on the next slide as well.
Yes.
Right, so next slide, please. And this is going to be about not getting discouraged. So how is it, Gabe, that what is it that people can do to help them stay balanced and healthy when it's stressful and then maybe they want to give up? What are some things that people can do to help them keep going? Can you share those with us?
Eating like nutritionally, it's like eating healthy and have a good sleep. If you wake up, do like exercise every day. If you get like bored, or you can talk to their friends, their family member, their coach. Sometimes are you thankful to each day to write down one thing about yourself and keep on learning.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if anybody else out here that's listening has tips that you may want to share with your classmates and others that are here. Can you guys think of other things that are healthy that you can do to help yourselves keep positive and stay in a healthy place while stressed through difficult times. Yeah, Dylan, you have your hand up. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I know that you don't have mute with your mask. I don't even know if you're. Oh. Is anybody else able to hear Dylan? I'm not hearing.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
hear
add
him.
it to the. Okay. Maybe you could put it into the chat, Dylan, because we do want to hear what you're saying. I see you're, yeah, not muted, but I can't hear you. So Noah shared, so with COVID, it's difficult, no exercise. Well, COVID definitely is a stressful time for folks, right? We just have to find different ways to be able to exercise. We may not be able to go to the gym like we were before and be right next to somebody on those machines doing our thing, but there are other ways to be able to get exercise at this point. So we know that we've been hearing being outside and walking is a really good way. It gets you fresh air. You're not around a lot of people. That's one way that you're able to still be able to get some good exercise. Let me see.
I wanted, Wendy. Oh, Wendy?
Entertainment.
Oh, sure. I just wanted to jump in and say that attitude is very important. And sometimes it's better to think that there are two choices. Either you get the job or you have the success, or you learned something. It was a learning experience. You'll do better the next time. So I just wanted to add that.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, it's like practice makes perfect, right? And so even if it didn't happen that first time, we've continued to practice doing our best to get it, even if it didn't happen.
Exactly. Yes. And so I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's see, taking walks in the neighborhood. Yeah, I love walking. That was my first experience, first example of an exercise. Let's see. So then Dylan had shared that with stress, helping you to cope with that is entertainment. And so, yeah, entertainment is one way that we're able to kind of, forget about everything else and zoom in on something else going on for a little bit. Running. Carly says that she likes to run. Reading a good book. Yeah, those are all really healthy ways to be able to move through these stressful times for sure. So do we have anything else that folks want to add? Listening to calming music. There are so many ways that we're able to take care of ourselves. Dancing, singing.
Yoga.
Yoga, meditation.
Mhm.
Drawing. Excellent. Very good. I'm loving this, you guys. So I'm seeing right now we're at 9:54. Our next slide is resources at this point. So I've listed a few of the resources used for the information that I've offered here. By going online and finding our presentation, you'll be able to click on these links in order to be able to gain a lot more information in order to be able to help you guys in moving forward. And the Dream It, Plan It, Do It is a worksheet that I thought would be really helpful in moving forward for you. And so I added that also, okay? Now, at this point, we have our evaluation questions, and we love to be able to hear what it is that you guys are wanting to get out of, any future webinars and all of that wonderful information. I'm going to say thank you while you are answering these questions. So thank you to Gabe and thank you to Sandra. We do have a focus session that we'll be doing right after this. So any of you who are able and interested and want to join in for that, you'll be moved on into a breakout room, you know, those with our schools for a project. So I'm going to stop talking and let you guys take the time to fill these out. And thank you so much for being here with us today. It was wonderful to see you all once again. And I hope you have a great weekend.
You two have a great fall break.
Thank you, Michaela. You as well.
It's Mackenzie.
And Mackenzie, right after I said that, I was going to say Mackenzie. I see.
Yeah.
I'm learning the difference now. It took a little bit.
Thank you, Wendy. Great information.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome, Becky.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.